Now I'd like to speak about how one goes about choosing a rabbi, a rebbitzin, a mentor. And I've come up with 7 different conditions in choosing a rav. What conditions should you have? And these are very good conditions for making a choice as a rav, and I'd like to discuss them. The first thing is, like we said before, the rav should be a model, right? Like the Rambam says, he should be someone I can look up to. If I really can't look up to him, but he's a great Talmid Chacham, it's probably better, especially if I'm looking for a rav to guide me in my way of life, as opposed to just a derech in learning. It would probably be a much better choice to look for somebody who's also a role model. That's number one. Number two, the Rav should be a caring person. Okay, shouldn't be like what we call a cold fish, which there are Rabbanim like that as well. You should feel that he's thinking about you, he's thinking about the issues that you're coming with, and he's not thinking about himself. And that's very, very important, that he has your best interest in mind. I maybe want to just show this with a story I heard from a lawyer in Toronto in the Agudah Shul. And this lawyer said he was on vacation in Florida with his wife, and she was ending her nida period, and she had a blood stain in which he wasn't sure if it was really a blood stain or not, and therefore he decided to visit Rabbi Yaakov, my grandfather, who used to spend the winters in Florida, to get a psak halacha on this ketem. He came into the house. Rabbi Yaakov, of course, sat him down. He started schmoozing with him. Rabbi Yaakov was very familiar with Toronto. And then he showed him the bloodstain. Rabbi Yaakov said, the truth is, I'm at an older age already. My eyes aren't so good, so I don't look at bloodstains anymore. So after a brief talk, he gets up to leave. And as he's on his way out, Rabbi Yaakov says to him, so what are you going to do about it? And that, he got a little bit embarrassed about it because he didn't exactly know what he's going to do about it. Maybe, he said that, I've been married for many years, so maybe, I would judge myself a little bit. So Rabbi Yaakov asked him to sit down. Rabbi Yaakov took the phone and called a number of Rabbanim. He got, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Zev Leff, who that time was the rabbi in Florida. He should be gesund and stark. And he told him that he's going to send him over a fellow that has a question on a ketem. Okay? This is the type of Rav that you really want, because here's a Rav who really cares about you, even though Rabbi Yaakov didn't even know him. He just cared that he would get the shaila answered. He was willing to make phone calls in order to find the rabbi. So that's an important thing, that the rabbi should be caring. Another important thing is that the rabbi should be patient. If he doesn't have patience, he doesn't let you finish what you want to say. He doesn't let you think about it. He should be patient. This I saw many, many times with Rabbi Yaakov, that Rabbi Yaakov, when he sat, even if he had a meeting in 15 minutes, the guy thought he had all the time in the world for him, right? He didn't give the guy the feeling that, you got to get on with it, you got to move it, right? Because then people get nervous and they can't really think so straight. This is one of the sources for this, if not the major source, is Hillel in Masechet Shabbos, that it says that a person should always be patient like Hillel and not impatient like Shammai. And it talks about a fellow coming to ask Hillel strange questions, because he was trying to get Hillel to get angry and be impatient. And the whole time, Hillel keeps saying, no, take your time, ask your questions. And he just sat, and he came back once, he came back twice. It was a Friday afternoon when Hillel would have been in rush to get ready for Shabbos, and he simply gave him all the time in the world. The other thing is, and we also see it from that Gemara, is that Hillel made him feel good. Even though he asked very strange questions, like why do the Africans have flat feet, right? Which had nothing to do with Torah, and all his questions had to do with geography and different types of people. Hillel on each one said, "Sheila gedola sha'alta." You asked a very great she'ela, very great question, because he wanted to make sure that the fellow felt good about the question, and therefore he would come back again to ask questions. Reb Chaim from what I heard, Reb Chaim Brisker was very famous for this. Reb Chaim Brisker would have, when someone would come in, even an ignorant person, a man, a woman, and ask him a very simple question, he would always take out a sefer or a Shulchan Aruch to look it up so they would feel good about the question they would ask, because if it was so simple, they may not come back again. So it's important that, number one, the Rav be patient, and number two, the Rav make you feel good about coming to ask the question. He should have a balanced approach, which means that he's not extremes. He can be, he can go to one side, he can go to another side, he's flexible, and so on and so forth. Obviously, we don't, if you can't be flexible in halacha, you're not going to be flexible, but the rabbi should be in nature as flexible as possible. Number 5 is they should understand yours and community's needs. This is extremely important because I'm dealing with a lot of Baalei Tshuva, and a lot of times a from birth rabbi who deals mostly with a from birth community doesn't get the questions that the Baalei Tshuva asks. He doesn't get them very often, intermarriages and so on and so forth. And therefore, the rabbi has to be one who understands how difficult it's going to be for a Baal Tshuva to ask certain questions, and the Baal Tshuva needs certain answers if they're possible to get. He needs you to be as lenient as possible in many situations. This is not only true about Baal Tshuva. A lot of people come with situations where they need a kula, and therefore the rabbi has to understand the needs of the community, the needs of the times. Obviously, we don't mean that he should make something mutter that's asur, but at least the rabbi should be able to, in many cases, find places where there is where it's appropriate to be actually makel. Number 6 would be they should be someone you feel you have a rapport with. You have to have a certain rapport with the rabbi. You feel you get along, you connect with the rabbi. Rav Hutner in a letter wrote the following thing: Gama leiv tzarich lahaskim lekach, dainu she'adam yargish ritzon u'mashicha litkarev l'rav zeh. The leiv has to have a part in this too. Not only the mind that he understands you, you understand him. You have to feel comfortable with the rabbi, and that's where Rav Hutner Zechron Levracha is saying Adam yargish ritzon u'mashicha. He feels a draw to this person to get close to this particular Rav, and that's the idea of that the person has a rapport with the Rav. He doesn't have to have it immediately, but eventually he has to see that he has this rapport. The 7th one is the Rav should not breed dependency. Again, I don't mean only a Rav. It could be a Rebbetzin, it could be a mentor. They should not breed dependency. The Maharal says, it says Aseh Lecha Rav, it doesn't say Aseh Lecha Talmud. Right? Why? Because he says where he in Eastern, not in East Europe, but in Europe, he says these days people want to be Rosh Hashivas, so they're looking to make Talmidim. That's not the goal. The goal is you should make for yourself a Rav, and not he should make for himself a Talmud. You shouldn't become dependent on the Rav, and he shouldn't make you dependent because he needs you to hear his shir. He needs you to ask him shilas. That's a major problem because we don't want the Rav to become a controlling person. We don't want this to be, so to speak, like a cult, to become cultish. So if you see the Rav not just responding to you, but sort of forcing you into his world, you have to be quite careful about that. I just want to add, with regard to women, they also have to be comfortable with the Rav. Sometimes the Rav will become, a male will be comfortable and not a female. If the woman is uncomfortable, then let's say for Hilchot Nidot Shiloh, the husband should go and ask these questions and not the wife. Also, of course, if there's a certain vibe the woman gets from the Rav that's not such an appropriate vibe, she shouldn't second guess herself. If it's not appropriate, she's probably right. It's not appropriate. No, it's not. She's not just thinking it, and she should find herself another Rav immediately. If she has any sort of suspicion, she's probably right as far as I'm concerned, and whether she's right or wrong, she should really find another Rav. Don't at this point decide the Rav said something, he didn't really mean that, he meant something else. No, if you're uncomfortable, and go find somebody else.